Will subnet tokens this year or next year turn into the ICO mania that was 2016 and 2017 like it was for Ethereum? My name is Jeremy, aka School of Crypto, and I'm bringing you another Bittensor video. So this is my third crypto cycle. I started in 2017. It was like middle of the year. My friend talked to me about Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Bitcoin, obviously. And I had heard about it, but I didn't really learn much about the industry and the sector until that year. And right in the middle of that year in 2017, Ethereum was going through a boom. And the reason why it was appreciating so much is because the demand for the Ethereum token, which is ETH, was at an all-time high. And the reason was because there were projects that were building on top of Ethereum. And there were projects like the TAO that raised about $50–100 million that, would allow you to earn Ethereum through a decentralized autonomous organization that eventually got hacked, and then it turned into a new token, but that's for another story. And you had a decentralized swap engine like Bancor that raised a bunch. You had EOS, which was a layer 1 blockchain that raised billions, that you needed ETH to participate. Basic Attention token, that was the official token for the Brave browser, that required ETH. You had Golem, which was a computing Ethereum sidechain, and that required Ethereum as well. So there were all these projects that were coming out of the woodworks that you needed ETH to participate, and that really raised the hype level to an all-time high, and the demand for ETH was going crazy. So I think like it was probably at $10, $15, $20 in like 2016, and then it went all the way up to like 400. So it was just like a crazy time in that cycle particular. So basically, the whole reason why Ethereum was so coveted at that time, and still is because you needed to have Ethereum to participate in these other projects. And this brings me to Bittensor subnets, right? You need to have TAO in order to get a subnet token, right? So the whole idea of, will the subnets become the new ICO mania, whether it's later this year, whether it's 2027, whether we have to wait another year and sometime in 2028, that could be a very practical scenario that comes into the fold and comes to fruition, because you have a lot of these subnets that are pushing the envelope in terms of having a state-of-the-art digital commodity. And we want to see what happens when a project like Liam becomes like the top compute project to go to in order to rent the cheapest compute possible with any machine out there, with any GPU out there, right? We want to see, like a Metanova make like an amazing medical discovery, and then all of a sudden, to get a piece of that pie, you need to have the Metanova subnet, right? We want to see Affine, right? Making a distilled model with a lot less parameters that could beat, like a, one of these like big, very heavily, funded models that, does it with a lot less resources and a lot less parameters, and, all of a sudden, gets, in the middle of the news because of it, right? And so like everybody was going to want the Affine token. So, it's one of those things where, no, there aren't like projects that are like, being like, launched like directly, on Bittensor. But in this situation, you need to have TAO in order to get, involved with these projects. And just like Ethereum with ETH, that token went up astronomically because everybody wanted to have a Bancor token, everybody wanted to have an EOS token, everybody wanted to have a basic attention token, right? Golem, all these projects, the DAO at the time, right? So what if we're in a scenario where, you know, you have a subnet here and a subnet there that gets in the middle of the news, has a huge partnership, all of a sudden, you know, has NVIDIA using their technology, or, you know, has a country, you know, using their projects, right? Like, there's a lot of different scenarios that can come to the fold because, you know, a lot of these subnets aren't messing around. Like, they're getting state-of-the-art technology, and it's because of the framework that Bittensor is built on top of, this adversarial network that allows subnet owners to try to curate, you know, a type of mechanism that can give them the best digital commodity possible. And it's really amazing just the design, and how, you know, again, like, miners are your worst enemy as a subnet owner until you get it right and you properly, you know, make the incentive mechanism impenetrable, and the miners have no choice but to do what you're telling them to do, right? So because of that adversarial, you know, type of structure, you know, these digital commodities are really being, you know, built in a very rapid pace, and it's showing results very quickly. We're about like a year and a half after TAO is launched, and we're just seeing amazing progress. So for me, when I think about when the next bull run is happening, and again, I'm thinking end of this year, sometime next year, you know, there's gonna be a lot of stories that, instead of, like, you know, the lighter fluid that it's being, you know, kind of putting these projects into the news, it's going to be a bonfire. You know, it's going to be fireworks, because when you're in a bull market, everything is emphasized even further. Everything gets magnified even more. Whereas right now, you can't really do a lot to kind of get things to really, you know, swing up. You know, so I just think, like, the combination of, you know, the benchmarks that are being made and the state-of-the-art technology that's going to be, you know, achieved is really going to, you know, make these subnets very coveted and very in demand. And the TAO token is going to be the one that gets that boost, you know, because of the subnets and what they achieve. So I think that there could be a similar type of effect where you have TAO going up a lot because a lot of people, you know, want the affine token. They want to have the shoots token, right? They want to have ridges. You know, if one of these subnets, like, all of a sudden, you know, beat the best model out there, or has the best inference out there, or has the best, you know, again, if it's score, right, and they have computer vision that, you know, governments are using or huge companies are using, that makes the news. Again, that's going to be a really, really big story that won't only benefit Score, obviously, but, you know, TAO is just going to be eaten up in the open market, and that price is just going to go really, really high. So it just, like, reminds me of the same dynamic that ETH went through. It's not like, again, launch pads where, like, you have, like, an ICO and then, like, you're getting the token for the first time. Like, it's different in that sense, but you still need, you know, TAO in order to get these subnet tokens. So I think that there's going to be an interesting dynamic that occurs in terms of being able to see how much TAO reacts to when these subnets do really big things within their respective sectors, right? So what do you guys think? Like, do you think that TAO could have a similar effect in terms of its price appreciation because subnets are, you know, again, making soda and, you know, surpassing benchmarks and, you know, showing as better technology as its counterparts? Or is it going to take more to get the TAO price up? Definitely let me know down in the comments below. I'm really excited to see what happens And it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, when that next bull market happens, you know, how these subnets and what they do and how they progress is going to actually affect TAO, the token itself. So yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think. Appreciate your time as always, and look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.